Texas Tech's to-do list. Texas Tech, of course, goes 5-7 last year. We are hopeful that they can have a better year this year. They have a lot of questions themselves, especially new quarterback. Pat Mahomes leaves.
Yep.
They are going to have some pretty. Jonathan Giles is now out.
Yep.
He's transferring. So now we wonder, okay, what's this team going to look like? And more importantly, what are the things they have to do to succeed, to win in 2017? Number one. Duh.
What do you mean?
Let's just address the elephant in the room.
Boy, sure would be nice if they weren't the worst defensive team in America.
And when we say the worst defensive team in America, that can sound harsh.
It does.
It's because it's true. It was the worst defense in America. Here is where they ranked 121st or worse in national rankings, okay? They were 128th in points allowed per game. They're 120. By the way, there are 128 FBS teams, or there were in 2016.
Just to be sure.
128.
Just to be sure you understand.
128th in points allowed per game. 128th in yards allowed per game. 128th in points per play. 128th in yards per play. 125th in yards per carry allowed.
Oh, that
121st in yards per carry or yards per game on the ground. 125th in passing yards per game allowed. 126th in interception percentage and 127th in sack percentage. This is everything we say after this is not just secondary, not just tertiary. It's whatever the word for is in that, okay? This is the critical question and the thing that Tech has to do in 2017.
Defense has got to be a lot better.
A modicum of defense. A little bit. Not even. We're not asking them to be the number 3 defense in the nation.
Be the 78th.
78. There's your goal, Tech. All these numbers that I just listed off where you rank 121 or 125 or 128, get to 78. Below average.
Yeah.
But they've got to be better.
Yeah.
I don't... Again, everything I say after this is window dressing.
Yeah.
Because...
They could just do that.
Because that is the steak. Everything else is sizzle. That's the steak.
Yep.
Number 2, make it count on the ground. I found this really interesting. Tech was a bad running team last year.
Not good last year.
And here's the interesting thing. So they are... they were, as far as percentage of their plays that are run plays, right? As far as percentage of their plays that are run plays, they are something like, let me see if I can find it. They were 127th in the nation, okay? Only Mike Leach at Washington State ran a fewer, their run-pass ratio was lower as far as running the ball, okay? They ran the ball 37.1% of the time. And I'm not asking them to run more.
Right.
I want to be clear. They are who they are. This offense is what it is. Yeah. And I think Nick Shemenek's actually a pretty good quarterback. I like him. Yeah. I think he's got a chance to be pretty darn good. Okay? There's all of that. I am not asking them to run more. What I am asking them to do is run better. Because last year, they were also 120th in the nation in yards per carry. When you look at teams that don't run a ton, you expect them to be at least pretty decent at it. For example, you look at Oregon. Oregon only ran the ball 53% of the time, but they were 16th in the nation in yards per carry at 5.4. Tech was 3.1.
Yeah.
Okay? If you don't run a ton, that's okay, but you got to make it count. So I came up with a very crude measure for this. Admittedly, Bill Connolly's going to run into my office and shoot me for even saying this. It's a crude measure.
Well, you're not shooting me.
What I did, I took their national ranking in how often they ran. Okay? So Tech ran 38% of the time, whatever it was. They were 127th in the nation. I took that national ranking, 127. And then I took their national ranking for yards per carry. Mm-hmm. And so Tech was whatever, that number, and I added them together. Again, totally crude. But I think this gives you an idea of who is good, who runs often and at least runs well, the most effective running game. For example, New Mexico, 4th in the nation in run plays, 2nd in the nation in in yards per carry. So they're number 1. That adds up to 6. 4 plus 2. Got that? Tech was 3rd to last. Okay? Only UCLA and Purdue were worse than them. They were worse than Texas State, who did not run the ball well. They were worse than Kansas, who did not run the ball well. They were worse than Duke, who did not run the ball well.
Right.
This is what you have to do. I'm not asking Tech to change their identity. I'm asking them to run the ball better. And number 3, peak late. If you look at Texas Tech's schedule, we're going to know a lot about them going into the month of month of November. Okay? They're going to come off a game at Oklahoma, right? And you presume that's probably a loss. And then you've got a critical stretch in November. The critical stretch. Home to Kansas State, Baylor and Arlington, home to TCU, at Texas. If you have made steps forward, you go 2-2 in that stretch. At least 2-2. 3-1, not complaining. 4-0, go for it. Got to go 2-2 in that November stretch, because you're probably going to enter this. Eastern Washington's probably a win. Arizona State, who knows? At Houston right now, who knows? Oklahoma State, probably a loss. At Kansas, should be a win. You're going to go into that 4-game stretch at the end, probably you need at least one, because they're probably not going to be 8-0. Okay?
Probably not.
You're going to go into that final stretch, that final month of the season. You have to presume you're going to need 2 wins to make a bowl. Okay? I think you have to work under that assumption. So it's okay if Tech struggles out of the gate with Eastern Washington. Okay? It's even okay if they struggle out of the gate against Arizona State. But they need to peak late, because that's where the grind of their schedule really is. Not necessarily the toughest part, but the part that they have to play well.